I promised that this week would be about polarities part 2, and it will be, but I don't want to lecture you about how to live with polarities. I promised I would, and that would mean opposites. Polarities are opposite, good and bad, life and death, right or wrong, up or down, success or failure. These are all familiar words. But I realized that I can't just tell you how. I have to offer you a way to discover it yourself if it's to have value for you. Sure, I could lecture about how I'm correct and how psychologically it's been proven, and why if you're defended against the opposite feeling that you don't want to have because you don't want to be ambivalent, so you want to be all about love, and you don't want to have fear or anger or pain or perceived mistakes known as guilt or imagined unworthiness known as shame. You don't want those opposites, so there's pressure. Basically, that's what I said before. There's pressure to keep that stuff away. And we're all using our life force, our life exuberance to push away what we don't want to feel or know. So what would get you there to where I would like to get you to experiment yourself and find out what's true for you? So I looked up truth, and one of the definitions is that which is true. That's which is acceptance of a fact. Truth is what we accept as fact. So as opposed to a lie, that's the truth. That's not a lie. Or that is a lie, that's not the truth. You see how they're opposites. And then there's truth that sometimes capital T, I'm meaning it more as an ethical, moral truth, in the sense that it's true for everybody. So if I say Caucasian people have more privilege, that would be true. But if I say that everyone has worth, that's more of an umbrella truth, because I mean it for everyone, not just about how it is that some people get to experience privilege. Do you see what I mean? That it's true. If it's not true for everyone all around the world, it's not truth the way I'm talking about it as a capital T. It might be descriptively true, that it happens to be true. So descriptive truth would be that we have, as a culture, and not just this culture of the United States, but Western culture and other cultures now around the world, other communities, are being taught to be positive. When you're taught to be positive, you have to push away the negative. If you're pushing away the negative, what might be happening? You're going to be defensive, you're going to be losing energy, and you're going to be realizing you can't always do it. You're going to not live in love, you're going to live in fear, you're going to live in anger, you're going to live in all the opposites, because they happen. They're part of our human experience. There are programs, and there are most of them, that talk about everything happens for the good. But what happens to you? In a way that works because your mind already comes up with how it's not good. So basically, what you're being told when you're told that everything's for the good, even though you can't see it, you're actually broadening to the polarity. You already think it's negative. And now you're bringing in the positive, or but that works only if you bring in both and allow for both. If you think you're bad, wrong, or a bad student, or unforgiving, quote unquote, if you look at what feelings are still going on, then you're missing the value that could be even in those programs. They don't mean to tell you include both. Most programs push the positive, but actually our minds bring in the negative and our hearts bring in the negative because that is the nature of the outer world. So how else to get to where I would like to take you? Let me just take a minute. So if you're with someone who's telling you something, but you have a very strong feeling they're hiding more, or maybe hiding the opposite, they're telling you only part of the story. And let's say it's someone close to you, a daughter, a son, a husband, a friend, a sister, a brother. You get it, somebody important, somebody in your network, a boss, someone you supervise, someone in an important relationship. Would you rather know the truth so that you can be more at ease? And if you call yourself conflict avoidant, I would like to ask you to drop that identity. That's just been your strategy and your belief. It's not who you are, it's how you've acted. So Enneagrams are strategies, but they're also identities. And we are free now to create an identity as long as it's coming from the accessible worth that each person is indelibly allowed. So we're all allowed to be leaders. We're all allowed to be artists. Allowed meaning not from our mind or not from the outside, but there is no ultimate truth that says only certain people may have these qualities. So in order to really expand possibilities in our lives, only one thing is asked of you. And that, from my mind, we can't get to your discovery of the balancing freedom and contentment that being able to hold both sides of everything. Because doesn't it sound harder? We've been trained, almost hypnotized, not to go to the negative, quote unquote. There is no such thing as negatives. There are feelings that pass through. It's only our minds and our culture that have judged them. But going back to, even if you have been averse to hearing even descriptive truth, you'd like to keep things nice, that's been your modus operandi. Just avoid anything that looks messy. Can you see that knowing, sensing, intuiting that there is an untruth, a cover-up, might be more ungrounding, unsettling, problematic than hearing whatever it is? Because, hey, we have imaginations. So what's the worst that you could hear? Maybe the worst would be to hear your child feels suicidal. Like, what parent wants to hear that? But hey, would it be more grounding to know? And would you have liked the opportunity if your partner, let's think of worst case scenarios. Your partner wants to leave you. You want to stay, they want to leave. Are you better off knowing they're thinking about this, or waiting till they're gone, or waiting till they've waited so long that they're mean about leaving? Do you see that it's only a short-term illusion that it's better to avoid things that are the opposites of what you want? So you want love, you want acceptance, you want desire. Desire doesn't mean anything unless you're repelled. There's a certain lipstick and a certain cream that have some kind of smell that I love. But I wouldn't be able to say I love that without knowing certain fragrances I cannot stand. If somebody's eaten a lot of garlic and onion, I don't like that smell on their body and their mouth, however it comes through. Am I right? Is that negative? Somebody else likes that flavor. There is no big truth to onions and garlic smell bad. That's just my opinion. It's just my particular embodiment. It's descriptive that that's true, but it's not truth with a capital T. I am trying to convey that truth with a capital T is making a deal with yourself that you're willing, to the best of your ability, because you're untrained. We're all untrained in seeing both sides of everything. But how will you know if there's more contentment, more freedom, more creativity, more possibility if you will hold both? This morning, a very dear old friend called. She's somebody we've always told the truth to each other. She's another therapist, so this is not something I have to teach her. And most therapists would bet their lives on this, even from divergent kinds of therapies. This is something we agree on. Knowing, being willing to look at the truth will set us free. But the everyday person has not been taught that. So if you start out and would consider being willing to hold the truth, you might have an experience like I did this morning. So my friend said, "How are you?" And she's actually just gone through the death of her husband. So we have been in very honest conversations about how she's doing. And I was glad she called, because I usually call her. And she said, "How are you?" And I said, "Okay." I meant it. I'm okay. But I couldn't say good or great or feeling. Usually in the morning, I'm super happy with the help of caffeine. And she said, what are you really saying? And I said, well, I'm not so good in that my hands are tied in working out this financial difference with a company that has a great deal of my money and doesn't intend to follow through and has made it clear they're not intending to, at least not in any time soon. So my dilemma is that is part of what doesn't feel good. I do not wish to engage an attorney. I know that I do not wish to be in a fight. And I allowed myself to really see that I wish the person making this decision every good. And I will do what's necessary to see if an attorney can fix this, but it's not with joy and glee, and it's complex. I want the peace, but I will be starting something that's adversarial, and that's the truth. And I said to my friend, I really don't like being in this position. I have put it off. I have tried with every skill that I have to gently, kindly negotiate with this person. And she said, yeah, that's how you feel now. And I said, thanks for that reminder, because that's what happens. We get in this hypnotic belief that's been taught to us that if you go down into the negative, you won't come out. It'll be like a cesspool. It'll be like, what do they call that? When you sink deeper and deeper into kind of mud, I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean, that we won't come out. And I mean, 5 seconds later, I still have ambivalent feelings about pursuing the return of the fulfillment. I'm not asking for the money back. I'm asking for the fulfillment of the agreement. And there is no pretense that the agreement has been fulfilled. So it's really wacky. And yet, this is what is. And the isness, I can be sad at this almost the same time that I can feel almost good about putting an end to patience and grace because it's over. That's the descriptive truth. I'm done. I'm done waiting. I'm done with these conversations that don't offer any hope. They are very clear about their position. So I bet you have examples of push and pull and complex. Life is complex. And the best example that I can offer is there's a whole study called death salience or mortality salience. And salience just means consciousness of our death. And this research has been, so that means paying attention not the way we're taught to live, as though we're immortal and it's not going to happen. And then we're shocked when anybody dies, even if they're 96 or they've been on death's bed. It's still surreal when they die because we live pretending as though we're not going to die because we think death is negative and life is positive. And this death salience research, mortality salience research has been around a long time and has been beautifully substantiated. And the people of Bhutan have a whole ritual that 5 times every day they acknowledge their death with open arms as the ultimate letting go, the ultimate peace, the ultimate freedom. And they say that that makes for a happier life. And if you would like an app to play along with this, there's an app called We Croak, CROAK. You'll find it on all of your apps, possibilities, and it's free. And it reminds you each day, 5 times a day, that you will die. And I receive them now. At first, I didn't want it either, even though I'm telling you this, but I'm a person who's been trained in this culture, just like you. Even if you're listening in another country, this culture, I'm told, has spread to Africa, has spread everywhere that I know of, that a belief in positivity. And I'm saying, enjoy the positive, but don't be afraid of the opposites because they're part of what is. And I just leave you with this. Do you want to be a truth seeker? Or do you want to continue to be on the side of cultural myths or programs where you're taught things that don't make psychological, emotional sense? See if it makes sense to pretend that half of the emotions don't exist and that you can live only in half of them or 1 or 2 of them. See if that makes sense. Or try on, maybe you can live in love and fear and joy and pain and anger and fear and perceived mistakes and imagined unworthiness. And maybe at the end, you'll be able to show up more present. See what's true for you. I'm just asking you an offer to stretch yourself just the way I'm doing myself. I am doing this work right alongside you. And right now, I'll close up and thank you for being on this ride with me. Bye for now.